Hi, I'm Sydney, and today we're bowling. What are we bowling with? We've got the brand new Zero Mercy Solid. I am a big fan of solids. I throw these quite often when I'm competing. It's always the first thing out of my bag. And this one is pretty high RG, pretty high diff, which is something I'm actually missing in my bag. So I'm really excited to get throwing this one. We've got some beautiful colors here. We've got a nice like orange, purple, white blend. I think it kind of reminds me of the Entity a little bit, but this one's prettier, I promise. Let's check out how it does on our crown jewel pattern today, which is basically a house shot. Oh, hey y'all. All right, so first shot is always supposed to strike, so if it doesn't, I'm gonna blame myself, not the ball, but that's okay. Kind of doing my usual lefty thing, stand on the big dot, second arrow, you know. Whoa! All right, that hooked a lot more than I was expecting. Honestly, I thought I missed because I miss a lot. I'll be honest, I'll be real with myself. And that came screaming back from the gutter. So I'm actually gonna repeat that because that's totally what I intended to do the first time. So we decided to go with a pin down layout on this, which I have not done a pin down layout on a solid recently, but I have problems with my ball rolling out, so I think this will be a good option. And 10 back again. Obviously I got the one a little bit further inside, but it's still held because in that oil, the ball can sit there for a period of time, which I really happen to like. So I don't see this rolling out on me as much as I usually do with my solids, and I think that I might get some use out of this on house shot, even maybe with some surface changes. I think that maybe if I knock some of the dullness off of it, I can get a lot of use out of my first 2 games of league with it. So let me move a little bit to the right here and keep it a little bit further inside. That one hooked a little bit sooner than I was intending it to and dug a little bit harder, but I also got it into that dry zone. There's nothing on the outside. So I probably can continue to throw it there if I move my feet a little bit. But ideally, let's keep my eyes in and try to play closer to that oil line. I'm also a chamois girl. I'm a firm believer in wiping your ball off every time. People may say it's not necessary. It's a habit for me. And I honestly just like my ball to look fresh. And who wants to dirty up their beautiful shirt? Can't be having that. Gotta keep things clean. All right, I'm gonna inch a little bit right, like I said, because I wanna try to find some more oil here for this. All right, that was a pretty good shot. I think I can be okay with that. Now I think the important thing here is, we know I can strike when I'm lined up, kind of in my sweet spot, which is right around 20 with my feet, throwing up the second arrow, you know, typical lefty stuff. But nobody wants to see that. They want to see how much the ball can hook and how far to the gutters they can get, whether they're on a pattern or whether you're in a house shot and you're somebody who just likes to stay towards the outside. So let's test some boundaries here, manipulate some hand position, some ball speed, and see how versatile we can get with this. All right, so first thing I'm gonna do is move left, which I kind of already have a feeling what's gonna happen. Moving towards the dry area, you know, ball that has a lot of surface. It's clearly not gonna hook at all, right? Let's move to about 15 here. And I'm just gonna add a little bit of rotation to try to give me some length and throw it a little bit harder than I normally would. All right, so we went Brooklyn on that. kind of high head pin Brooklyn, but still not enough to get it going. So let's try one more shot. I have a feeling, again, it's probably not gonna go flush in the pocket, but as you can see, it picked up like right around the arrows, and it just wanted to stand up and continue to roll forward. So that's the beauty of solids and ASIMs, is they like to stand up and they give us that friction that we need to handle those heavier oil patterns. Obviously, we're not on something super heavy right now, but just so you can see what that may look like, let's test another shot here. Again, my trusty chamois. I'm also very impressed with myself. I've had this thing since 2019. It's fatally written my college I went to back in 2019. I think that's maybe the longest anybody's ever had a chamois. So if you've had one longer, go ahead and comment what your longest relationship is with a chamois, because honestly, that's the longest relationship I've ever had. So. That is quite the leave. Can't say I've ever done that before, but really close. Almost had a flush pocket shot there, but it just stood up a little bit too soon, dug into the lane. But if you're somebody who does like that earlier ball motion, like I said, maybe change the surface on it with some shinier polish or maybe like a 3000 or 4000 grit. But overall, I think that's a good piece that could allow somebody to play towards the gutter on some heavier volumes, but not on heavy volumes, so let's move the other way. All right. So obviously I have no rev rate whatsoever, but that doesn't mean I can't stand right of the big dot. It shouldn't mean I should stand right of it, but we're gonna stand right of it anyway. So 25, my nose is bleeding at this point. And we're gonna try to give this thing a little bit of hook. I'm gonna get around it, gonna try to give it some motion down lane and see how much we can hook this piece. That did not come back. Of course, I'm never gonna blame the ball, it's always me. Maybe not throw it out so far, but I think there's potential here. So I'm gonna move to 23 because I think 25 is being a little overzealous about what I can actually do to a ball. I'm not gonna lie to myself here. So let's move to 23, not throw it out so far. Probably throw it a little bit slower, give it some time to hook. That's got potential. And we make it happen. Got the right ball speed in there. I'm gonna pretend I hit that one harder than the last one. But it made a comeback. That's a lot of boards to cover for me, and it's not something I usually do, is cover a lot of boards. But clearly that's all friction and wanted to hook. So can we make it 2 for 2? That is the question. I do have to say, it does look pretty going down the lane. And everybody loves a pretty ball. If you don't, you're lying. I bet you every person who's watching this right now has at least bought one ball because it looked pretty. I know I'm guilty of it. I definitely have. So if you should buy a ball for its prettiness, this should be the one. That's also got potential. Potential to bucket. That's okay though. It did hit the head pin. But again, still try to make that comeback, which is something I like to see. It's got hook potential, but everybody knows you have to end on a strike. So let's go back to maybe that sweet spot, throw a good one, and get the heck out of here. All right, so moving back towards 20, I'm gonna go about 19. Soften up just a little bit, back to being a little more forward. And that is good for 10. So there you have it. There's that brand new Zero Mercy Solid. If you guys like this video, please make sure to subscribe, like, drop a comment, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.